Out of 10, the wrestling podcast where opinions mean everything and nothing at the same time. Tonight we're going to talk about the men or women that stand behind the guys in the ring. The manager is a special talent that's attempted by many but excelled by only a very, very few. Tonight we're doing the top 10 managers of wrestling. It's actually sacrilege, we haven't done this before, but yes.
I can't believe we haven't done it. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, right? But first of all, I am the Mark Shields, and my co-host, quite simply, he is the housewife's favourite heel, Hoxie.
Whoa.
How are you doing, Hoxie?
I'm good, mate. What are you saying?
Not much, mate. It was a nice subdued entrance into Market at 10 this evening. My creative juices are not flowing. It's I usually have a quip, whatever, but it's
a quip.
Yeah,
a quip.
But no, I'm good. It's
quid pro quo.
Well, let's go back. Top 10 managers in wrestling. We haven't done that yet. We skirted round the issue. We've skirted talking about certain things when we've been talking about mic workers, etc. But we've never actually done the actual wrestlers. And for us, I think that's quite shocking.
This came out in the wash, didn't it, on last week's show, which was a bit of a thrown together gimmick, really, from the cupboard under the stairs. But we sort of were like, oh my god, we haven't done this, have we? So we are going to put that right tonight. And I've had fun making my list, but I was saying to you just before we come on, obviously, once again, we don't talk about our lists. We don't discuss this beforehand. But I struggled to get a full list of people who I actually care about, if you know what I mean. There's lots and lots of managers who've been in history, but I was like in the end, I had to Google lists of top managers just in case I'd fucking forgotten about somebody and been like, oh my god, why have I forgot about that? And I was looking, I was like, nah, not for me. So there'll be people who will listen to this definitely who'll be like, what the fuck? Why haven't you got Dave Smith on here? Why? You know what I mean? It's because I don't give a shit about Dave Smith, basically. These are who I feel are the greatest managers of all time, not who are the greatest managers of all time.
Interesting. So I've got a mixture of ones that are important to me, but also ones that are quite important to the business as well. So
yeah.
I think that's potentially why I found the list reasonably easier to do. So, we'll wait and see what happens. Speaking about last week's episode, you'll have noticed anybody that is a fan of Mark Out of 10. If you're not, why the fuck not? Make sure you check out our back catalogue. We couldn't upload the one to YouTube because we did a watch-along, and, I don't know, YouTube just doesn't like us doing watch-alongs. So,
motherfuckers!
It basically just went hell to the fucking knot. That was the technical term. So, yes. Apologies for anybody that watches or listens to this podcast on YouTube, but it was out with our control, I'm afraid. But we're going back to where we started. We're going back to lists, Hoxie, and I'm looking forward to this one, to be fair. And it's quite interesting because we're doing a list, but there's not a lot else really happening in terms of wrestling. Not smack you in the mouth massive stories, right, in terms of wrestling just now.
Not really. I mean, we're going to talk about SummerSlam. We will talk about SummerSlam, guys. If you're thinking, what the hell are you talking about? We've just had a big fucking pay-per-view or whatever. We will talk about that. But there's nothing in the world of wrestling, which is, holy shit, we need to get on here and talk about it hot off the press. Yeah. Give me your thoughts, give me your feelings or whatever. I know there's a little bit of... Excuse me, that was disgusting. Sorry. There's a little bit of... a little sort of AEW and Britt Baker and a few bits and bobs going around about that, but I don't know whether that's a work or a shoot, mate. I don't know if it's because she's come back from suspension or whatever. She's been on fucking the witness protection program for God knows how long. You know what I mean? Where's she been? So I know she's come back, and there's been a bit of grief with MJF, and maybe it's bled into the Mercedes Moné thing. But their match has just been announced for All In, right?
Yeah. That's going to be a horrible match. I'm a big fan of Britt Baker, but Britt Baker on herself is still very green. It's she...
And she hasn't worked full-time for a while. Well, none of the fucking guys in AEW worked full-time anyway. But she hasn't worked full-time for a bit either, has she? So it's going to be a bit of a struggle.
Genuine think that's going to shit the bed.
It's going to be it's going to be slow motion, isn't it? We've said this about Mercedes when we've watched her matches on here. She looks like the green one, doesn't she? When you watch her matches, and I think, it's going to be two monkeys fucking a football, I think. I really do.
When she was up against, what was it, Rachel Vacker, she was easily, the green one. Like
Stephanie Vacker, yeah. You would
Stephanie
have thought,
Vacker, sorry.
You would have thought she was the veteran. She
Yes,
was,
100%.
and she got signed very, very quickly after that.
Very quickly. Who called that? Mark out of 10 called
Mark
that.
out of 10. You heard it here. Well, you didn't hear it here first, but you could have.
Yeah, if it actually... Fuck you, Riverside.
If it was the Riverside motherfuckers.
Speaking
but at
about
least
the podcast...
it's not Hikaru Shida versus Mercedes Moné. Or, what's her name? The midget. What's his name?
Yeah.
Rio. This is not Rio. Because that could be really bad.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about the podcast before we do SummerSlam. Me and Hoxie were talking about it there. Season 3's been a bit of a shit show. Me and Hoxie have been really busy over these last few months. We've had weeks off. We've had technical difficulties. What we're going to do is we're both off next week because we're attending a wedding, one of our good friends' daughters.
Wedding of the year.
Indeed. I'll be wearing a kilt. Hoxie will be wearing a nice suit.
Find one.
Shit. We'll get onto that in a second.
Dear.
Yeah, so we're not going to have an episode next week. So what we're going to do is we're going to take like 3 or 4 weeks off. But what me and Hoxie are going to do is we're going to try and record sort of a few episodes in advance. So if we do have technical difficulties, we've got something in our back pocket that we can just fire out there. And also, hopefully, we're getting back into a routine. It's coming in. Summer's now sort of finishing. So thank fuck the sun. So hopefully we can like get nice and cozy for autumn and winter and do some more market attention. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, apologies that season 3's been a bit of a shit show, but
we have lives, mate.
We do.
And real life
We do.
Sometimes gets in the way of stuff that you want to do, which is fun.
In fucking deed. Now, speaking about suits, Hoxie, what's been the struggle?
So I don't know. I can't even remember if I've spoken about this, but I've been hitting hard a diet for the last month. Big time. I've lost over a stone in just over a month, which I'm very proud of myself for doing. Very happy. So I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this weight. I've gave myself the target / goal as the wedding, or around the wedding. So I thought I'll get myself a little bit slimmed down, lose a bit of weight, go suit shopping so I can get a nice slim fitting suit, nice new suit, 3-piece suit looking fucking sharp as anything. And I went to 4 different shops earlier this evening. 4 different shops, and they either they had like a nice suit but not a 3-piece one, or they didn't have my size in anything. River Island, I've been to River Island like dropping in and out for the past God knows how long, fucking 6 months, and I saw a suit in River Island. I was like, that's the one that I'm going to get when I lose the weight. And they've changed their range and the suit isn't in there. So I was like, oh, we'll go. There's like another shop in the town. It's like a proper suit shop. So I thought, we'll go there. And the one that they had was really, really nice. And it's like a sage green. I want like a green coloured suit. Don't know why, but they look nice. But it's got like this weird like stuff on it. It's like velvet, but like really cheap velvet on like some of the lines of the pockets and stuff. And there's just a random line like above the pocket, which is like an inch thick. And I'm like, if that wasn't on there, that would be sick. Like really nice, like sagey green tweed 3-piece suit kind of thing. I was like, yeah. But I was like, no, I'd look like an old man or a banker or something. So I couldn't do it.
Certainly sounds like banker.
Sounds like banker, yeah. So then I went to Next, didn't have anything. And then I went over to M&S, and the one that we found on the website while I was driving there, I got really excited about. It's perfect. They didn't have it in. And they said, oh, well, try this on. This is like the size that you're probably going to need. I was like, yeah. Went online to order it in. Out of stock online. So I'm going to have to try like some other shops at some point. But yeah, it's fucking annoying. Really, really annoying. This is why I don't like wearing a fucking suit, because I can never find. And I've got a really broad chest. So if I wear a suit that's too long in the arm, it'll be like perfect length in the arm. It'll be too tight here, and it'll start sticking out. I get this weird thing where if I wear a shirt, I got to wear a big shirt because the fucking buttons open up and it gets my chest on go. So I've got this really weird size. I'm halfway between like a large and an XL kind of size, like a 44 regular and a 44 long. It's piss take. First world problems, mate. I'm fuming.
My kilt's sorted. I'll pick it up next week. It's fine.
Fucking yeah, fuck you. Mate, you're going to look sick, by the way. Are you going full Scotsman, by the way?
I don't know.
Because if you do, you are going to get your balls out.
That's exactly what's going to happen. It's either going to be like you guys doing it, or I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to get so drunk. I mean, I have ordered my hip flask as well, so there'll be whiskey come down with me, so it's all good.
Whiskey. What have you made a decision of the whiskey which is going to be in your whiskey hip flask?
I'm going for a single malt, probably like a nice Jura, like 15-year-old Jura, I think.
Ooh, that's the one with like the different coloured boxes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it nice? Is it Scotch? Scotch whiskey?
Yeah, it's whiskey.
Yeah. Yes, it's whiskey. Look at him. There's Irish whiskey as well, mate.
Yeah, it's not proper whiskey, though.
This will be the end of Market at 10, guys. Dog's piss.
Well, it's true. Like, Irish whiskey, you can't call... If it goes to America, it can't be called whiskey. Because proper whiskey, and this is why it's spelt different as well, because whiskey with whiskey with a Y is only in Scotland. Everything else is EY, or it's vice versa. I can't remember the actual thing. So there
we go, guys. It's not just wrestle talk here, people. We learn the way of the world.
Real life stuff.
Yeah, real life shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like the spelling of it. That's what makes the spell, because you've got WHISKEY or KY, and it's to do with if it's distilled in Scotland, then I'm sure it's EY is distilled in Scotland, and if it's the Y, it's everywhere else it can be distilled. And if it's done in America, that's why it's bourbon or something like that.
See, I prefer a bourbon over a Scotch or an Irish.
Well, that's why you're a ball bag.
I find the Scotch whiskey tastes like a fucking ashtray, but there we go.
You just haven't had the right whiskey.
I'm getting my heat, mate. I'm getting my heat as a heel.
Heat.
I'm getting my heat, mate. Jeff Jarrett heat. Screamers black.
Yeah, I mean, what you need to do is this is why in old man pubs you're supposed to take it with like a tea. If it's too strong for you, if it tastes like it's burning, you put like a teaspoon of water in it. That's why
there.
In pubs, when you have the water jug, they've got a spoon in it. It's because you're only supposed to put a spoon in. Never have it with ice because it's just fucking sacrilege. So there we go.
The thing is, I can't drink a drink. I think I've said this before. As a Cruz Campo advert has just come up on the fucking website that I'm on. Okay, I do like Cruz Campo, by the way. Anyway, I can't have room temperature like alcoholic. Well, any beverage. I've got to have my drinks really cold.
You like
so
an
that's why I have
though,
like,
no?
Huh?
You like an old fashioned? That's pretty warm.
Big old, I put big old ball of ice in it.
Well, I suppose you do.
I've got to have my drinks cold, man. Even like I like an ale. My ales need to be in the fridge or get them nice ice cold. And people will say that's disgusting because they should be room temperature. But every drink tastes better when, like, my dad used to say that to me all the time. And then he'd come round to mine, and I'd like a properly. I put them in the freezer for like 10 minutes before I drink them, even if they've been in the fridge, to get them really cold. And now he has all of his ales out the fridge because he's like, they taste those better.
Beer's got to be really ice cold
to it, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be something to it.
Vodka's good, really cold, but that's how it's like distilled and stuff as well.
In the freezer, they have it in the freezer, don't they?
Yeah, because it's supposed to go like a syrup. That's what makes it taste better. But no, whiskey's got to be like, I don't put ice in my whiskey.
Room temp.
Yeah. And if you put fucking like a mixer in with whiskey, you're a wrongin', honestly. Fucking hell. Okay, Hoxie, we're going to the wedding of the year, but we've just have the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam, come past in WWE.
Oh my god!
Hashtag not a pro, but should be. Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Thanks. So yeah, SummerSlam 2024. Another, I'm going to say, a really good pay-per-view put on by WWE.
I thought it was.
I think there was a lot of shocks in it.
I think for good cause.
Yes.
And not like, shock for the sake of having a shock. It was like, it all meant something, didn't it?
It either finishes a storyline or it adds to an existing storyline. You know, there was no match that was just thrown in there. You know,
not filler.
No filler-ish.
Yeah. Should we go through the card, mate? Should we go through?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. We're not going to go into too much detail. We'll talk it through different bits and pieces. So, first matchup was Liv Morgan, who's the Women's World Champion, versus Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley came out with Dirty Dom for the Women's World title. Thoughts, Hoxie boy?
I didn't like this match. I was speaking to some of the lads the other day, and I didn't like this match, not because Rhea lost. Like I thought the story of the match, to try and make it make sense, the fact that Rhea's twice the size of Liv Morgan and should just squash her like a fucking bug. I did not like the shoulder thing at all.
Nah.
It was cheesy, campy. Yeah. It was really poorly sold, phony. Really phony. Yeah, really, really fake and phony. And I think the crowd, like, if that happened out the blue randomly, like, and it was sold well, the crowd would be like, "Oh, fuck!" But the crowd were like, "Oh." It wasn't the reaction that you want. It was poor. Yeah. I really didn't like it, and I love Rhea selling. I think I've waxed lyrical about how good she is at selling for a bigger person and like selling pain and out of moves and things. For me, this missed. Yeah. The turn you could see coming. And when it did happen, he didn't sell it as much as he should have.
No.
It was like, "Oh, I've done it." Not like, "Oh," like adding anything extra to it. It was poor. I really didn't like this match at all, mate.
Yeah. I agree with you.
15 minutes or whatever it was, 20 minutes.
Just low of just short of 16. But again, the Dominic thing I wanted to touch upon, that just shows you how green he is. He's been in there for a few years now, but there's still elements of his presentation that just is, I'm not going to say poor, but weak. You know, that just needs work on.
He'll get there though. He will get there.
100%. Yeah. He is good.
He is class, isn't he?
He is very good. And you know, if that moment about the shoulder appeared in AEW, we would nail them to the ground for it, and it's exactly the same in WWE, right? It was bullshit. It didn't need to happen. Not certainly, yeah, it was terrible. Sell the shoulder, absolutely. I mean, and you could do it. Oh, she redislocated it. Let her work with one arm, because she could still fucking overpower Liv Morgan with one arm regardless, right? It's like she doesn't need both arms to do it.
There was a couple of spots where she it was kind of like a hope spot where she just booted Liv Morgan in the head. Like it was like a big boot, and then they both like sold on the floor. Like I think she'd done that once or twice. It's like that's all she needs. She's got legs probably the same height as fucking Liv Morgan is stood up. She could have just booted her in the head several times and would have been game over. I just didn't.
It's definitely
been a miss for me, mate. It really was a miss for me.
It's definitely been Rhea's worst match that I've seen from the last wee while. Even our match against what's her face,
Naomi. Nyla. Sorry, yeah.
You know, that was better than this.
It was two big hosses though, wasn't it? It sort of made sense.
It was a different match, absolutely, and you know,
it was hard to get. It's hard to get that out from her, mate. Isn't it? Like it's hard to get that.
And I don't think Liv Morgan's bad. She's not.
She's tiny.
She's toty. She's too small.
She's what? Sorry.
She's toty.
Toty
wee.
Toty wee. She's tiny. Yeah, she's really, really
beautiful.
Small.
She's in the wrong era. Liv Morgan would have been fantastic in like the Divas era. You know, with the AJ Lees and you know that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because she is talented, but I just don't believe her going. And it's the same with Alexa. You know, Alexa Bliss, wherever she is, it's like she is really good. She's beautiful. I just don't believe that she would beat the likes of a Charlotte or even a Becky Lynch or a Rhea Ripley or a Nia Jax. I think Bayley and Becky Lynch are the smallest you probably go to. I mean, Io Sky is another conversation you can have, but Io is.
I think Io gets away with it because she's fucking badass.
Just insanely.
Yeah. I talking of obviously the show we're doing tonight, she would be a really good valet heater manager, bit like almost Sunny-ish because she's so pretty.
Yeah.
She could like draw heat, if you know what I mean. That way. But yeah, it was a miss, mate. Did not like it. Really didn't like it. I was annoyed because I was looking forward to seeing Rhea back, and the match was shit.
Yeah,
really looked good though.
Yeah, nice to look at.
#
chauvinist. Anyway, moving on to match number 2 on the card was Mr. Sami Zayn, the Intercontinental Champion, versus Braun Breaker. Braun is just disgustingly good, right? Like, he is unbelievable. Fair play to Sami Zayn. Like, we know how good Sami is, but Braun, man, he is like, you call it, he's blue chipper, right? He's fucking just outstanding.
Big time blue chipper.
And he wins his first singles WWE title, main roster WWE title, the Intercontinental title.
I think it wasn't a long match, but I think
under 6 minutes.
They could have took, if it's just under 6 minutes, they should have took 3 minutes off that.
I would agree.
They should have had Breaker just
squash him,
smash him up, give Sammy a bit of his comeback, you know, like into the haluva kick kind of thing or whatever, and then just squash, bang, finish.
Yeah, just like let him go for the haluva kick and then fucking let him duck it, run the ropes, fucking
do his fast
spear him to oblivion,
spear him. Yeah. Just, and then pick him up for his fucking slam.
Braun Breaker, he will go on monster run with this. He'll just decimate everybody until they have the next person to come up from NXT or whatever to beat him for the Intercontinental title, and that'll have him ready for like the World Heavyweight title because he's just so good.
Should they have had Braun beat Gunther? I know Sammy's a guy. We've said that Sammy is a guy, like he's former champ. Yeah. Like he's done lots and lots of stuff. Tag team champ, main event is WrestleMania. He's like, you mean he's one of their go-to guys, isn't he? Like he's one of the tippy top guys, right? And he's had this belt. I think him beating Gunther was a nothing thing. They just had to get the belt off him, and it just turned out that was the way it should have been. If they were really going to let Gunther go on to do what he was going to do, because he didn't slip on a banana peel. He wasn't blindsided by anything. You know what I mean? It wasn't one of those situations. I know he was maybe got a bit too cocky or whatever because he was too busy giving shit to fucking Sammy's missus or whatever. But surely Braun could have beat Gunther at WrestleMania and cemented him as being a fucking, like a you know what I mean, a made man.
I think you're right. He potentially should have, but the way this has went, prediction is here because obviously, spoiler, we're going to talk about the Gunther later on, right? But Braun Breaker is going to go on for the Royal Rumble to win the Rumble, and it's going to be Gunther versus Braun Breaker at Mania, WWE title versus Intercontinental title. That's what's going to happen.
It's going to be the Ultimate Warrior gimmick.
Yep, that's what's going to happen because Gunther is the guy, he wants his Intercontinental. He just wants it all. I can just see it happening. I reckon that's the way it's going to go. Call this the 8th of August, 21:06 on the 8th of August 2024. Shields is predicted that Braun Breaker will win the 2025 Royal Rumble and go on to face Gunther at WrestleMania.
Hello, TikTok. That's a TikTok clip right there. Make a timestamp, mate. Timestamp. Talking of,
Speaking of it was Mr. Logan Paul, the WWE United States Champion, versus LA Knight.
Yeah.
Really good match. I enjoyed this match.
Fucking loved this match.
Logan Paul, we'll talk about LA Knight in a minute, and but Logan Paul, I can't speak highly enough of him. The fucking he seems to get better every single match, and what's been really good is seeing the sort of promotional side of him, the vignettes or the stuff that he's doing with LA Knight in the ring on SmackDown or whatever. He's just so good, and that fucking springboard moonsault that he did to the outside.
Have you seen the clip of that where he's training it, and it, as he's going off the ropes, it goes into
unreal.
I fucking hate him so fucking much. Oh. He's a prick. I can't stand him. He's so good. I hate it.
Good.
I hate it so much.
Good. I mean, we speak about him all the time, right? How the fact is he's most improved. He's a safe hand in the ring. It's like the stuff he does is clean. It looks good. It looks believable. He respects the people he's in there with, and this is another really, really good showing from Logan Paul. And
he's got it. He's literally got it.
He's got it. He's got the natural charisma. He knows how to work cameras. He's athletic as fuck. It's just, he's got it all, man. It's just,
he looks better than most of the fucking guys on the card, and he looks better than 97% of people in AEW as well, who were pro wrestlers.
100%.
It's mad. Guy's a machine. Absolute machine.
However, that machine was dismantled by one LA Knight who wins the WWE United States Championship.
Good.
Deserves a title, man. I don't think he needed it, but he deserved it. He is obviously with Punk coming back. For me, he's up there in terms of ability on the mic with CM Punk. It's like he's just so good. His character he's got down. He's over as fuck, man. And that's what you want, right? It's just he's the guy. Now that he's won the United States title, do you think he'll ever get the big belt?
How old is LA Knight? Let me have a look.
He's actually younger than I thought he was.
He should, for me, he should have won it. And I think they missed the boat with him probably 12 months ago when he was really, really hot and he was sort of in and around that stuff. He probably should have won it then. Could there be an argument for him to have been in the Damian Priest spot? Maybe. I guarantee the belt would have got over a lot quicker and a lot more if he'd won it.
Yeah.
Rather than Priest. I can see why they've done the Priest thing because it's a catalyst to break them lot up.
Again, you saw that coming though, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's all there, isn't it? Really. I think he should. I think he should have a big company world title belt on him at least once. I don't think it'll be the big one like Cody's one. It would be cool if it is because I fucking love LA Knight. He's amazing, but he should definitely have the WWE one.
The heavyweight.
Yeah. Right, the heavyweight. Sorry, I can fucking confuse the other one. The Wish one. He should have that one. I watched a clip of him on Twitter the other day, and it came up, and it was him and Carmelo Hayes on an NXT show doing the interview with. Is it The Rock's fucking daughter or whatever it is? One of the bints on that fucking show, and he was trying to work with this girl, like to get her involved, and you could see him. I think he asked her like the same thing like 3 times or whatever, and she was just like staring at him as like, oh, this isn't in the fucking script, you know what I mean? And he was like, whatever, and he moved on to Carmelo, and Carmelo said something wrong, and he picked him up on it, and Carmelo shit his pants rather than like working his way at once again. They didn't practice that bit. They didn't practice the fact that he got something wrong and fucking LA picked up on it. And he finished the thing with saying, oh, it's not going to say like LA Knight, it'll say HIM or whatever. Yeah. And he goes like, he said, oh yeah, good idea. That's not going to get over, blah, blah, blah. Listen to this, like LA Knight. And then the crowd says, yeah. And then he just walks off. And I was like, this guy he's like so Rock, good. Stone Cold level fucking mic work for me. Yeah. He really, really, really is. And he's in like an environment now where that isn't appreciated by who it should be appreciated by. We do, all the fans do, because they're fucking, it's over. You know what I mean? But they ain't going to give him a mic and say like, here's 10 minutes, go and get yourself over, kid. You know what I mean? That won't work.
No.
But it should. He should, because if he had a 10-minute free promo, fucking hell, magic. Guaranteed magic.
What I'm excited about is when they go to Netflix and like there are no rules.
Do a little swear word or a little tongue in cheek.
Because I think he's so reserved. Like he's toeing the line, right? He's like on the edge of it. Yeah. And I think if LA Knight could fit in the Attitude Era in terms of his promo work, that's how good he is, right? And there were some tippity top guys in terms of mic work back then. I think he would match them all. He's so talented, and like I say, he definitely deserves the United States title.
He's a big guy. He is a bit of a throwback in the way he works. Yeah. He does work like a throwback guy. He looks like a throwback guy. Like he talks like a throwback guy. He's just, right now that's amazing because it's unique. Because no one else is like that. And they made him a fucking male model. Oh, sorry, Vince made him a male model and didn't let him wrestle in the ring. Fucking crazy.
I always
One of
go
the
back
most
to
over talents of 2023.
Yeah, I always go back and watch when he like changed from Max Dupree back to LA Knight. Just when he like the promo first, like little backstage promo. It's just so good, man. He's just.
Do you know what? I don't even think I've seen that. I'll have to watch that.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was match number 3. Match number 4 was the women's WWE champion Bayley versus Nia Jax.
I fast forwarded this.
So, Nia defeated Bayley. There you go.
I couldn't think of anything worse than watching the human
Nia.
fridge, run around the ring for fucking 10, 15 minutes. Oh, how long was it?
Yeah, 12 and a half minutes.
And I love Bailey, but I couldn't put myself through it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not because it's a women's match. I watched the Liv and Rhea one. It's because I want to see them have a match. I did not want to see this match at all. Nia Jax has got the most amount of go away heat of any fucking wrestler I've ever seen in my entire life, including Jeff Jarrett. Right.
Okay,
This
moving on.
was Drew and Punk, right?
Drew versus Punk with Seth Rollins as a special guest referee.
Loved this match.
It just
Loved
worked,
it.
right?
Proper. We watched In Your House, didn't we, last week?
Mm-hmm.
This was like a kind of main event match that could have been on an In Your House pay-per-view
Yeah,
back in
yeah.
the 90s.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Love the Seth thing. Like, you know, I mean, just have his fucking ref shirt as well.
You gotta love a bit of Seth.
It was so good. It was so good. But yeah, mate, I like the way the finish for me was cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Drew going over was the way it all went about and the way it all happened was kind of cool. The finish, I'm sure they done this finish or similar finish with fucking Taker and Brett and Shawn back in the day.
Oh dear.
Yeah, oh, what a shame. Fucking hell. Deary me. But I really liked it. I liked the ebbs and flow. I like is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Is he going to turn? Is he not going to turn? I loved all that. They set it up perfectly. Drew got his win back, or what, you know what I mean? Got his thing. Yep. Not for a belt, not for anything. And there was shady circumstances involved in it. And I just think it's really cool.
Set up for Punk Rollins, right?
Yeah.
Which
is what really
people want.
It was going to be, wasn't it? Basically. Yeah.
Do you? I see a triple threat match happening at the Rumble.
Yeah, because it's. I mean that's a marquee matchup for any pay per view. Really, is it going to be a Rumble? Would it be too much for a Royal Rumble? Because they'll have the men's. It's going to be 2 nights of Royal Rumble this year.
Probably not. No. Yeah, it probably won't be then. Well, I mean, what they'll have.
We've got Survivor Series, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got Survivor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe Survivor Series.
That lends itself quite naturally, yeah.
Potentially.
Interesting. I mean, Seth's over as fuck. CM Punk is our favourite. He's so good. And Drew is probably on the biggest role of 2024. I think he's probably been arguably probably the best performer in everything in 2024. If you think about in-ring, out-ring, fucking social media, he's nailed everything. And I think
the
what's
best
really
he's ever been.
100%, yeah. It's amazing what happens when the shitting on your head CEO gets binned. It's amazing what happens. But I think it's testament as well to CM Punk, the fact that this is his first proper match back, really, and he doesn't go over. I think if this was the Punk maybe 15 years ago, he would have probably demanded to go over. And I think that just shows the change in mentality, the mentality shift for CM Punk, the fact that I think he is truly happy back in WWE. He's got that sort of reignition for the business again that was sort of dampened a little bit in AEW. But again, that's just a humble Shield's opinion.
But he looks good.
Yeah.
He looks like he's bigger, he's bulked up. He
Stronger.
looks younger. I think we said this before. Like, yeah. He literally looks 10 years fucking younger now than he did when he was in AEW. So it's just everything. For these 3 guys, like, even though Seth is fucked, and there's lots and lots of discussion of whether he is actually going to be able to come back properly, because both his knees are fucked and his back is as well. And I'm pretty sure you need all 3 of those things. I'm pretty sure you do.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe get away with maybe not having one knee. Yeah. Strap it up. Throw some fucking dirt on it, mate. You'll be all right. But I think they're all where they should be. They're all doing what they should be doing, and it's good shit. Really good shit.
Good shit. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Drew McIntyre beat CM Punk in that match. All the right things happened. It's been set up brilliantly for whenever the next stage will happen, depending on how quickly Seth recovers.
There's so much more meat left on that bone. I don't even think you can see the bone yet. It's there. Yeah. Cool. Love the fucking Drew thing with the t-shirt.
So
the
sign fuck CM Punk.
Like,
Yeah. So good. That's something like you would do.
What? No.
Uh,
No.
Okay, moving on to
Dear.
number
I'd write
6.
nonce rather than cunt.
Moving on to match number 6 on the
dear.
card was for the World Heavyweight Championship, Damian Priest versus Gunther, the Ring General. I actually enjoyed this match. I thought
Decent
it was a good match.
Yeah. Just two big lads throwing meat, right?
Damian Priest, again, I think he's getting better all the time as well. I know he's been in for a while, but just his presentation looks good. He looks confident in what he's doing as well. I don't think the Judgment Day shit helped him at all.
Not at all.
But I think him going off on his own now is going to be really interesting, or potentially with him and Rhea side by side. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had the Finn Balor. We call it heel turn, even though they were heels anyway. I mean, later on, you know what I mean?
The screw job.
Yeah.
The double cross. The backstab.
I did say that Priest was going to be the transition champ, and obviously till the next heir to the throne
gets on it,
and Gunther is a main guy, right? He's believable as a champion.
100 million%. I saw the clip of him on Raw when he's all like suited and booted with like the belt on his shoulder and stuff. Like, I like Damian Priest.
Yep.
I think he's got a look like he can go, like he can work. But if you're a pro wrestler in 2024 and you're wearing trainers underneath kick pads and like all of the gimmick going on and you're the champ, it's weird. It's weird. Get some boots. Like, your fucking body's good enough not to wear a singlet. Get your fucking top off. Get your tattoos on show. You jacked up. Get some trousers and some boots, and you look like a fucking badass. He just looks. So was it the bondage Undertaker or whatever?
Yeah.
His gimmick, his character, his presentation, literally could have been mid-90s WWF, and it would have fit in there. In 2024, for me, not so much. But I think him and Rhea, when they get together and they look badass together, it will. Yeah. I think it'll work. They're where they need to be now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Gunther, man, he's just so good.
He's class, mate. He's fucking class. He's badass. Beats fuck out of you. Double hard, treble hard. He can work. He can fucking he can brawl. Technically, he's good because submission finish, really. Mm-hmm. Like, he can work. He's getting a powerbomb over as a finish, which I think is cool because everybody's got a Vernon Schnavitz, Triple Indy, whatever. He's just powerbombing people through the mat and then choking them out.
Yep.
Yeah. Go on. And
I'm up for that.
Chopping the shit out of people. So sick. He's fucking badass. And he looks amazing.
It's funny you say that about, you see the picture on Raw when he's wearing, the black top and whatever, and the belt, it fits him. You know, it looks right. It looks like it's purpose made for Gunther. It looks, so good.
It looks right.
Right person for it, and I hope he gets a really long run with this. I think he...
How old is Gunther, mate? How old is Gunther?
36. Fucking hell.
Same age as me. Oh, his birthday's... It's my birthday on Sunday. It's his birthday is the 20th of August.
Well, there you go.
We're basically the same fucking person, mate.
It's exactly
and it looks like it's going to be Gunther and Randy having a bit of a tete-a-tete, which will be
really
amazing.
Good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Mate, I think after all of this time, however long, I think I'm finally starting to see the light with Randy Orton. I'm finally... It's because I don't know. I won't go too much into it, but I think his mindset has changed, so I believe him a little bit more. I maybe respect him a bit more than I did.
I believe in Randy. Speaking, you've changed your opinion on Randy. However, we're going to go to Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa.
Oh, fucking hell. Here we go. Go on, mate.
No, the match was okay.
I can't abide Solo Sikoa. I'm sorry.
Just there needs to be a twist for this new bloodline, because the new bloodline versus the OG bloodline will be really, really good. But I just don't believe Solo being in charge of it all. It's got to be The Rock is behind the scenes, or Jacob Fatu has got to fucking take it over. Because Jacob Fatu, you would fucking believe, right? You would believe that.
When he came in at the end,
yep,
he looked like he should have been the guy who was murdering Cody.
Yeah, 100%.
Solo's the flunky. Jacob is the blue chipper. He's the best of the lot of them. Mm-hmm. He's fucking amazing.
So good. But yeah, they changed it into a Bloodline rules match, so it was very similar to...
I tell you what, though, mate, it was a long way for fucking Kevin and Randy to run to get to the ring on that run-in. Fucking Kevin Owens was fucked by the time he got there. That was so funny. But it's because he came out and started walking, and he was like, "Oh shit!" And then he's like, started dad running, and then he was like, "Fuck, I need to run here." It was so funny.
But obviously, the return happened. Mr. Tribal Chief himself, the OG Tribal Chief, the OTC, came back. Roman Reigns,
original Tribal Chief.
I really like that T-shirt, by the way. OTC.
That is decent, to be fair.
So good, right?
Yeah. Original pirate material.
I'm looking forward to seeing the first promo with him and Paul Heyman in the ring, just to see what happens.
Do you reckon?
I think it's going to be awesome.
Do you reckon Paul's going to be shitting himself, and then Cody will give him a cuddle, and it'll be a proper face turn?
Oh, okay, maybe.
Because he's got to be the face element of this.
I'd imagine so. I think the first promo is going to be really, really important, right?
Set the tone.
Yeah, I think even when he says "acknowledge me," it'll fucking pop the crowd. He's there, right? This is where they wanted Roman Reigns years ago, right? Mm-hmm. It's like they were pushing him down your throat as if babyface, and he's went the Rock route, right? It's a case of he was babyface, booed out the building, they didn't want him, turned heel, was a monster heel, and now he's returned as his babyface. He's got himself over, which is testament to the work he's done. You know, he was the best thing.
His fucking entrance music, man.
I love it. So good.
It's wicked, isn't it?
So good.
Jacked up, man. When it happened, there was a guy on the camera shot, and a guy stood up and he turned to the entrance and went like that. Literally, as he done that, it went, ah! And he marked that. He was like, shit, I did it. It was so fucking funny. It was really good.
It's so good.
But he's got an aura, hasn't he? He really has got an aura. I like the way it set things up, but it put more emphasis on him. He got more heat out of it than Cody did. There was a bit at the end before the show finished. I watched the whole thing just to see, because I was thinking, are they going to end this here on Roman stood in the fucking entrance? And they were watching him, and then it went to Cody really quick, and then it stopped. He had a split second, so he was the last thing you saw on the show. But I thought, they're going to leave Roman as the last thing they fucking see on this show. They didn't, but they might as well have done, because it was Cody for a fucking split second. It's very interesting.
It's they haven't capitalized on WrestleMania for Cody. I think
we've said this before. How? There wasn't anybody there. There was nobody there in line to do it. He is the mega baby face. He just hasn't got the heel factory. They didn't have anybody lined up for him. That's not Cody's fault. That's their fault. It was so good that when he did beat, it's what did you do after Endgame? After Avengers, they beat fucking Thanos.
Couldn't watch it again.
But
yeah, no, I get it.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's the last X amount of fucking Marvel films have been shit because it was so good. This bit now is until Deadpool and Wolverine, by the way.
It's fucking incredible.
Yes. If you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, listeners, guys, watchers, go and watch it. It is amazing. And there is definitely some pro wrestling moments in that, by the way.
Yes, 100%.
Some huge pops. Get involved. Class. Just don't take your kids.
No.
But fuck yeah. It's hard, mate. It's hard. It was so good. You can't do it. What can you do?
The thing is,
could you
though, going back just a couple of stages, you said that it's going to be Randy versus Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
Are they missing a trick and not doing Cody versus Randy? Because, like that, I would want to see that because obviously their backstory, their history, etc. And Randy's been playing it really coy with the different sort of facials he's been given, the different looks at the title and stuff. It lends itself really naturally. I just don't see. I don't see who Cody's going to go up against next, and I don't care. There's nothing that draws me in. Like, I was never a Cody fan anyway with the Roman story, but the story drew you in, right? There's nothing that I can see in the future that is going to do that. I don't really want to see Cody versus Cody and Roman versus members of the Bloodline. It just doesn't work for me. It's like,
Nope, I don't want to see that either. I don't think. No.
It's like,
I said this a few months ago. They should have. It should be Cody in LA. They should have done that.
yeah,
They should have had. You've came in here, fucking from swanning around in Florida for the last couple of years. I was the guy. I should be the guy. I should be wearing that belt. I'm the best here. Let's have it. And LA Knight turns heel. And they just run with that for a few months. That's what they should have done. I mean, they've done it with AJ, which is like, okay, like the sentiment was still a similar thing. Like, I'm the best. I'm the fucking face that runs the place and all that bullshit or whatever. But it was like, it was just a filler. Like, I'm here for it because it's AJ Styles and he's fucking class. But they should have done it with LA. It should have been like, this should be me. The jealousy and hatred of the fact that you've come back and won this. This should be my spot. This should be my belt, and I want that back, and I'll do anything I can to get it. That's the way you should have done it.
absolutely.
But who the fuck am I, mate? Who am I?
Who are we, Hoxie?
No, I'm no one, mate. Absolutely nobody.
Okay, so that's the end of SummerSlam 2024. Solid pay-per-view. I enjoyed
What would
it.
you give it out of 10 overall, mate? You got to work the gimmick in here, haven't we?
I'm probably going to give it probably another 7. It's another like solid pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I mean, it did what it had to in terms of story, either starting stories, ending stories, or just progressing stories. There were a few good moments like LA Knight, Gunther. There was a few shit the bed moments, which is absolutely fine. There was returns like Roman Reigns returning. So yeah, it wasn't offensive to me. It did the job it had to do.
I would give it a 6.
Okay.
5. There's basically 2 matches on the show that I really couldn't give a fuck about. Yeah, 6.
That's fair. That's a fair number.
Bit above average.
Let us know what you guys think. Do you agree with mine and Hoxie's summation of SummerSlam 2024? Check us at WrestleMark10@gmail.com. Tweet us. Comment on everything. You can comment on Spotify now. Comment on Spotify. Also share it with a friend. Give it 5 stars because all that helps with
The algorithm.
Perfect. Look at that. Flawless transition into what we're going on to next is the top 10 managers in professional wrestling history. Obviously, it's just our opinion, but opinions mean everything and nothing at the same time, guys. Are we ready, Hoxie?
Are you ready?
Yeah. Indeed. Okay, ladies and gents, the top 10 managers in professional wrestling. I thought this was okay. I've got a few, well, in fact, all the names are pretty big in my list. I think are fair. I could have put them in any order. Well, I couldn't really because there was top 3 or 4 are pretty much nailed on. You can go first, Mr. Hawks. You're
Okay.
number 10.
My number 10. Look, can you see this fly? Can you see it? It's massive. Holy shit. Go! What, you fucking little prick. Sorry. Mate, my first one on this list is Gary Hart. Some people will know Gary Hart. Some people won't know Gary Hart. But he was... he initially started his career as a wrestler, as a pro wrestler back in like the fucking 50s or whatever. But he sort of really, especially in sort of modern day kind of wrestling, is more famous for his days in like JCP, NWA, WCW, so Jim Crockett Promotions. Basically, famously he managed the Great Muta, and sort of he was always in charge of looking after a lot of the guys who would come over from New Japan or All Japan or whatever at the time. But he basically was I had it written down on my phone. Give me 2 seconds. The JTEX Corporation. So
Terry
that
Funk.
was Terry Funk. Dick Slater, Buzz Sawyer, and the Dragon Master, Dragon Slayer, whatever, and the great Muta as well. So they were always feuding with the prime faces at the time. So it would have been Sting and Flair, Steamboat as well, probably around that time. It was always like JTEX versus Four Horsemen-y kind of. So Arn Anderson as well, old Anderson, that would have been involved in there as well. But he was the main heel manager for that period of time. It was probably there, obviously, until Ted Turner bought them. That Jim Crockett Promotions, that fight against the alternative to the WWF back in the day, he was the main heel manager, and for that he got to get on the list. And the fact that he used to sort of, it was like a Louisiana drawl, sort of like a New Orleans drawl that he used to do. And I can remember when I sort of went down my like learning rabbit hole of watching all the old JCP stuff back in the day, and for years and years watching old WCW wrestling, I would always watch him and think, he's fucking badass. He's cool. He could have been a face manager, just pretty much doing the same thing with different people. If he was managing a face and doing the same talk and the same spiel, he would have been a cool face manager rather than like a nasty heel manager. I just think he was. I think he was fucking cool, man. Just because I liked that period of time and liked him so much, he's sort of number 10 basically. Yeah.
Good shout, Hoxie boy. Good shot. He's not on my list. Okay. But justification is everything. Hoxie justified it really well. My number 10 is a manager, a Hall of Fame manager, WWE Hall of Fame manager, Mr. Paul Ellering, who was the manager of the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom. He was manager for around 15 years, I think, of their career, which is incredible. He wasn't actually just their like wrestling manager; he was actually their manager in real life as well.
Was he actually?
Yeah, so he was.
Wow.
I think what was good about Ellering is like LOD, like Road Warriors, were such a massive draw. He was a draw himself as well. He was a wrestler in his own right, and he wasn't like your typical. You know, when you think of a manager, you think of a smaller guy with the two like massive giants beside him. He wasn't. He was a big guy in his own right. He actually held the world record for a deadlift as well for a short time.
Wow.
He deadlifted 745 pounds.
Fuck me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so obviously he competed in AWA, he competed in Memphis before he became a manager.
Some big hosses went through AWA, didn't they? Jesus.
Big boys.
Yeah.
He could talk as well. You know, he's probably really underrated in that regard. It's, his words were very, very few, but they were impactful, and I think that's what sets people about. You can talk for fucking years and years like Ultimate Warrior did, right, but say absolutely nothing. But he was one of the very few that could say only a few words, but get it over, which was really cool. He obviously took a lot of time away from the ring, a lot of time away from wrestling in general, but he came back and he managed Authors of Pain, Rezar and Kazim, or whatever his name is, in NXT. Tried to get them over, didn't really work. Left, and he's back now working with, again, Authors of Pain and Karrion Kross and stuff as well on the main roster. But yeah, I think when you think of one of the most successful tag teams in terms of Road Warriors or Legion of Doom, it's only fitting that Paul Ellering gets there as well. So yeah, that's why he's my number 10.
That's a good shout, you know. I did see his name like floating about, and I thought, oh, it's only LOD, lads. But he was LOD for forever.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Didn't even think about that. Good shout, mate.
Thanks.
Good shout.
Okay, so
He
if you haven't
hasn't really
listened
done much now, though, has he?
No,
He doesn't really say much, does he? He doesn't really come out and do much. He's just sort of like comes out and fucking points, doesn't he? It's like, you do that. You do that. I think, yeah.
But to be fair, I don't really know when he's on screen because Scarlett's usually there, and you know.
Point. Very well made.
Thank you. Okay, so if you haven't listened to the lists in a long time, we usually do Hoxie starts with 10, I then do 10, and then 9, and then we swap it over, we do a couple each. My number 9 is a former wrestler, someone that we have spoken about before, and it's Sensational Sherri.
At number 9.
At number 9. Again, she could be much higher up, but there's other ones that have had probably. I mean, we talk about the list of people that she's actually like managed. You think about the one that's probably she's most remembered for is she paired with Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, Randy Savage. Probably that was the key point of her managerial. You can think of it that way. She was when Savage went heel against Hulk Hogan. He had Sherri by his side. He turned into the Macho King? I think that's what he called himself when Sherri was the manager. And she was like the perfect sort of heel. Like she was fucking mental, Sherri, right? It's like she's just so good. And then because Macho Man then sort of turned it again at Mania, and then had that moment with Miss Elizabeth as well. So she was really widely remembered. But then she went with one Mr. HBK, Shawn Michaels. After he split from the Rockers with Marty Jannetty, she still had the star power at that time to get Michaels over. And I think Sherri Martel was a big, big part. And I think Shawn Michaels says that himself. She was the one that helped him get from that perceived tag team wrestler to that sort of main event, singles wrestler. So yeah, I think she deserves to be on any list. And I think we talked about that when we're talking about women's wrestlers. It's like she could be on the list of managers, and that's why she's on my top 10. She had to be on there somewhere. And like I say, there's names above her that you could probably transpose like her in. So yeah, number 9, Sensational Sherri.
Good shout. We'll talk about it later.
Of course we will. Okay. Over to you, Mr. Hawks.
Number 9 is James J. Dillon. J.J. Dillon. He was a wrestler in his own right. Florida, NWA, fucking hell, ESA, he was Central States and all that sort of stuff. He was at one time world champion. Decent worker back in the day. You don't get that far being a world champion without it. But he really sort of is well known, and especially in sort of the history of wrestling now and modern day wrestling, as the manager of the Four Horsemen, who are one of the greatest stables ever. He didn't necessarily do much of the talking or much of the sort of what you would normally associate with what managers do. You know what I mean? Like speaking for the guys or whatever, because you had fucking Ric Flair in the Four Horsemen, you had Arn Anderson in the Four Horsemen, but he started off managing Tully Blanchard. But he was like the manager in terms of like, oh, I've got this deal for you, or I've been working with the office to do this, or oh, here's your money and all that. Like it was almost what you would expect with the Four Horsemen guys, is to have this guy like managing their affairs and shit, like getting them deals and getting them money and stuff. It was such a perfect, like a proper perfect fucking situation for him, and he was believable. He played it like a shoot, which was really, really cool. And there's lots and lots and lots of guys who are going to be on this list, which will actually sort of like cite J.J. Dillon as one of their sort of influences, or who would teach them a lot of stuff. And he had to get on this list for me, perfectly as like I put them next to each other almost accidentally as like a bit of a foil, because it's like Gary Hart was against the Four Horsemen sort of thing. But yeah, Jay Dillon was brilliant, and he went on to be like a not necessarily a manager, but like an authority figure for WCW as well, as like the commissioner for them or whatever, and that sort of stuff. But he was still like an on-screen presence doing some really, really cool shit. And yeah, I liked him. He looked like a schmoozy like guy. He always suited and booted with his glasses and his hair like how he likes it. Like he wasn't very old back then. I think he was probably mid-40s, but he looked about 137 or whatever. But it was cool, man. I think he was sick. I love when I go back and all the old WCW stuff, that JCP stuff. He was really cool. Just the way he spoke, holding his newspaper or his Financial Times and tapping it away and just like telling you what was going on. I thought he was fucking sick. So yeah, J.J. Dillon for me. Fucking nice. Brilliant. Yeah. Good.
He was on my list, but I actually took him out because there's people that I enjoyed watching. Well, JJ was sort of before my time in wrestling anyway.
Yeah.
There's people that I remember more in terms of managers for me that either caused a reaction, right? It's a case of, you motherfucker, what are you doing? So, yeah. Okay. Heat, absolutely. Yeah. Number 8 for you, Hoxie boy.
Oh, shit. Number 8 for me It's Captain Lou Albano. You look at what Captain Lou did, and he was part of the most important part of wrestling, basically, which was the whole rock and wrestling gimmick. He was the one who was on the fucking what you call it, Cindy Lauper videos and all that sort of shit. Mad looking guy, mental prick when he was in the ring as well. Back in the day, all them scars on his head aren't they're most of them are worked. Yeah, well, I was going to say most of them are worked, but a lot of them will be. He was managing everybody in that 80s period of time. Literally anybody who was anybody in that period of time, Lou Albano would have managed. Hulk Hogan, Jimmy Snuka, fucking oh my god, whoever he was.
Andre, Wild Samoans.
Yeah, a lot of them. British Bulldogs managed the Hart Foundation as well when they were really just starting to sort of come out. He was their voice, brought them out, Neidhart and Bret Hart out of their little squeaky hole, if you know what I mean. Everybody. It was I think in terms of like WWF managers or whatever, I think he has to be up there as like one of the better ones, or the best ones. But in history, you have to talk about Captain Lou Albano. I think he was one of those guys who transcended across into like popular culture as well, especially in North America. But he definitely transcended into a household name, and you got to be good to get into that spot, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about him later, but yeah, he definitely he'd lay the foundations for like some of the managers we'll probably talk about later on as well. Yeah. So it's like
the fucking things in his cheeks and that, and it's just weird, mad cunt.
Hi TikTok.
But yeah, it's class. And he was just when he got in the mic and just all, he was just mad, wasn't he? He's just mental. Literally, you never know what he was going to say. After stuff he said, you wouldn't fucking make sense of anyway most of the time. Whatever. When he wanted to make a point, you heard it. So yeah, Captain Lou, it's cool, man.
Nice,
really cool. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to me then. My number 8 is this is someone that when he was on TV, I fucking hated him because who he was the manager of. It was my number 8 is Mr. Fuji.
I knew he was going to be on here. Go on, yeah.
I mean, probably everybody remembers Mr. Fuji in terms of managing Yokozuna. When Yokozuna came into WWE, I think it was 92. Yokozuna, under Fuji, won like the WWF title. He, against some big names. It was Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan. But he's managed so many other folk as well. When you think of it, it's like he dressed like Odd Job. If you don't know who it is, he was like WWE's Odd Job back in the day. It was his first ever client. Do you know who his first ever client was?
Probably somebody like the Barbarian or something like that.
George the Animal Steel.
George the Animal Steel. Why was he around for that long?
He retired from wrestling in 85 and then became a heel manager. So
wow,
Fuji actually teamed up with him, and he took on Hulk Hogan and Mean Gene Okerlund, and Mean Gene was the one that pinned Fuji.
Of course, he was.
Yeah, brilliant. Animal Steel then became a face, and then Fuji left him. But he then went and managed Don Morocco, and they did like random thing like Fuji Vice, like Miami Vice take on it and stuff. He managed like Jim Neidhart as well. He was the manager that used to buy the contracts. So there was a thing in WWF as well. It was like he used to buy contracts from the different managers. So like he managed Demolition. He then turned on Demolition, and he then managed the Powers of Pain. He was the manager that like used to throw salt in people's face and blind them, and and that's the heat that you got as a manager. He was like the first manager I can really remember that. I think it was when it was Yokozuna. I was like, I fucking hate you, man. Stop blinding my favourites. It's like stop blinding the good guy. So yeah, I think a lot of people sort of forget about Fuji, and I think it's a shame because he's managed some massive individuals, and at that time there were a lot of big managers in WWF, and I think they played off each other really well, like Fuji, Bobby the Brain, Slick, for example. They were all in amongst that time, and it was a really nice thing away from the ring to see the sort of backstage antics of buying contracts from each other. I think it was just really cool. It's a really cool time for them. So yeah, my number 8 is Mr. Fuji.
Good chat, mate. Good chat. He was. He nearly made it on mine, but he didn't make it on mine because I didn't like him because he managed Yokozuna, and I used to hate Yokozuna.
Yeah,
It's basically the whole reason he didn't make it on there. So I was like,
it's amazing.
Still real to me, damn it!
It's amazing. It's the same reason I put him on my list. So there you go.
It's crazy. Cool. Love that.
Okay.
Good shout for Mr. Fuji. He was
Mr.
decent.
Fuji. You gotta love him. My number 7 is a guy you've just mentioned. It's Captain Lou Albano. He had to be. It was like he was the guy, as I say, that probably laid the foundations for those sort of managers like Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jimmy Hart, etc. And like you say, the Bulldogs were the ones that is memorable. But like you say, Wild Samoans, Head Shrinkers, Andre, Snuka, Hogan. It's like you don't manage those fucking level of superstars if you're not great. And yeah, I can't really add anything extra onto what you said. So yeah, Captain Lou Albano was my number 7.
He's class.
Yeah,
class.
Outrageous.
My number 7, and I'm probably going to talk myself into the fact that I should have maybe put this person higher up my list while I'm going to be talking through this. But where it's settled, this is where she is. It's Miss Elizabeth. It's going to be quite short because a lot of the guys on here manage lots of different people, and they managed like in sort of a different way. You can say that she wasn't a manager; she was a valet, but I genuinely think she was a manager.
Yeah.
She was just the most perfect person, I think, ever to be like the complete opposite of macho, but it still worked. It wasn't like opposite, and it was like it's like oil and water. It was just the most perfect, like I can't even think of the way of explaining it in an English language. She just everything that macho was, just mad, extra, loud, brash, like massive, all this charisma, and then you've got little old Miss Elizabeth who was just there, like, come on, Randy, let's go and win this match. Like, yeah, it was brilliant, fucking brilliant, and it was. When you realised, like when you sort of look back at some stuff and you realise, I mean, people did then as well, you realised it was real. They were together. It was just magical, really magical. And she was amazing. The whole, like, obviously the big build-up, mate. When they reunited in like 90, was it 91 or 92 or whatever it was, like...
Goosebumps, man.
Yeah, mate, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking talking about it. You don't have many managers who have those moments. They usually have a split and it's done. Like this was like a split, and it was like it was emotional to get them back together. It was so good. Obviously, they went through the Mega Powers thing, and then into that the split, the rivalry, and then the coming back together and stuff. I just think it was amazing. And obviously, she went to WCW as well, NWO manager, and then obviously, unfortunately, with Lex. But it was just, she was just the best, man, and she was lovely. She was beautiful as well. Really, really beautiful. Girl next door, beautiful as well. Yeah. So yeah, she was cool, man.
Absolute really tragedy.
Cool. Massive tragedy. Her legacy on the business though is massive. It's ginormous. Huge legacy. She was only like 42 when she died. She's just crazy. It's like she could have been around for a long time. Like some of the stuff that she could have done, maybe coming back over after, WCW going tits up or whatever. Like she could have done some really, really cool stuff if she came back over. Yeah, man, just amazing. Really, really, really good. And I don't think you can have the golden era without Miss Elizabeth. She's one of those key players in that whole
100%.
thing. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
we'll talk about her a bit later.
Yeah, I thought we would. I'm a little. I probably should have put her a little bit higher up, but I haven't. So whatever. But yeah, I still love her just the same. Number 7.
That's absolutely fair. Miss Elizabeth, absolutely fair shout. Your number 6, Hoxie boy.
My number 6 is the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Whenever I think of when I very first started watching wrestling, all the tapes that I had that my next door neighbor gave me of like the Survivor Series of like 90 or whatever, all that lot, he was all over it. Like with his megaphone and his mad jackets and just like the imprint of yeah, baby, come on, baby, let's go. And all that is just imprinted in my it's just imprinted in my brain. And he managed fucking everybody, didn't he? And I mean, back in the day, obviously he managed. It was Bill Dundee and the whole thing in Memphis. Which, if you guys don't know, if you're listening to this and you don't know about Memphis wrestling, have a little read into it and get involved. And if you think wrestling now in like the WWE is over, like Memphis was over on a national scale in one fucking part of the country. It's crazy. And he was fucking smack bang in the middle of why that was making so much money and was so popular. We talk about like AEW do like a 0.8 rating and they're happy with it, and fucking WWE do like a 2.2. In syndicated shows in Memphis for Memphis Telly, they were doing like 10.5s and 12.1s for wrestling back in the 70s in a syndication. Just mad numbers. Anyway, sorry, digress. No. Presentation wise, he was amazing. He was unreal on the mic. He was phenomenal when he was ringside. Like, if you want heat, you got heat. Just the megaphone thing, just amazing. Just gold, proper gold. He could use it to make you laugh and get like face heat, or he's out there screaming and shouting abuse at people in the crowd or at the wrestlers, and people are shouting and hating him. He was fucking class. And he's still going now. He still does a lot with Hulk Hogan and stuff. But he was so good. I just love his jackets, like of all the different. If he was wrestling, if he was managing Hogan or whatever, he'd have the Hogan jacket. If he was managing Macho, he'd have the Macho. Like all the different people. Sometimes he'd be like managing like 3 people on the show, and he'd come out with like three different jackets on, like in the match and the megaphones and stuff. He was class. Loved Jimmy Hart. He was brilliant. It's just because of early memories in wrestling, basically. Yeah, class. Fucking brilliant.
Talk about him later.
Yeah. Mate, Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Honky Tonk Man. Bret Hart and Neidhart. Hogan. Macho. NWO guys. Whoever. Anyone who was anybody in the 90s and 80s of wrestling, he would have managed them. Fucking class. Amazing. Yeah. Good shit.
Good shit. Okay. Moving on to my...
Let's go.
He reminds me... Do you want to know what character reminds me of? Have you ever seen Ted Lasso?
No, I haven't.
You need to watch Ted Lasso.
It. Yes, I know. I need to watch
so there's a character on that. You'll understand who I mean when you say... I'm not going to say anything. But there's a character that reminds me of Jimmy Hart, just for what you said there. Yeah. Okay, my number 6 is... Again, a great wrestler in his own right, but it's classy Freddie Blassie. Again, you think... If you want a manager who managed the who's who of wrestling, like bona fide Hall of Famers, it's got to be Blassie, right? It's like Hogan, Iron Sheik, Peter Maivia, Volkov, Adrian Adonis, Ray Stevens, Jesse Ventura, Dick Murdoch, George Animal Steel, Kamala, Hercules, Hernandez, Blackjack Mulligan, and fucking loads of them, right? Involved in some of the biggest moments ever. He was a manager for Muhammad Ali when he went up against Antonio Inoki in Japan in 1976.
I did not know that.
So that's a wrestler versus boxer. So there you go.
Yeah.
He was managing Iron Sheik when Iron Sheik beat Hogan. When Hogan beat Iron Sheik in Madison Square Gardens in '84. So Blassie was involved in that match as well. It was
probably there to make sure Sheik done business, to be fair.
Yeah, pretty much. Then he managed Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik to get the tag team championship. He's just class, man. Just like the name says, classy Freddie Blassie, right? I think he had to be on the list somewhere, potentially a bit too high, maybe, considering who else is on the list. But yeah, he managed the who's who of wrestling, and I think it would be remiss not to have him on the list.
I'm just looking at a list here, mate. So, amongst the men he managed, Nikolai Volkov, Sheik, Blackjack Mulligan, Peter Maivia, Ray Stevens, Adrian Adonis, Jesse Ventura, Dick Murdoch, Swede Hansen, Killer Khan, George Animal Steel, Professor Tanaka, Mr. Fuji, Ivan Koloff, Torquemada, Master Saito, Lou Albano, Victor Riviera, Kamala. Fucking hell, Hulk Hogan.
Mental, right?
Jesus Christ. That's crazy. I knew he was a big deal. I didn't realise he was that. I thought he was more of a wrestler than he was a manager, mate, to be fair.
Well, when I was doing my research, I was quite surprised as well. But it's like,
Yeah.
but when you think about who he has managed, it's like it would be remiss not to. And I think he was one of the main reasons that WWF like sort of took off as well. When you think about the '80s and stuff, when it was doing its national thing, when Vince said he wasn't going to do it, it's like he was a big reason for that because he was over in his own right. He was an amazing wrestler. So yeah, Freddie Blassie is my number 6.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Good shit, mate.
Yeah.
Good shit.
My number.
Who was your number 7, by the way?
My number 7 was Captain Lou Albano.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Number 5 is a guy you mentioned, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. You know, we talked about it with the Hart Foundation at the beginning. They almost got cut because they just lacked confidence. He was one of the reasons why they stayed, because he was the mouthpiece for them, so they could have lack of confidence, but he just had confidence personified, right? The megaphone as well. It's like the megaphone and the jackets are the thing that I'll always remember Jimmy Hart for. And
that's cool. That's exactly what it was for, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like that was his thing. Like you say, you would always remember him for that stuff. That is exactly what those things are for, aren't they? I love that. I love that so much, mate. It's just, yeah, little thing.
Yeah. I think Jimmy Hart is what I said in the introduction, loads of folk can try to be a manager, but there's very few that are master it. And I think Jimmy Hart is one of the few that masters it. I think he was just outstanding. I think he is, because he wasn't imposing. You know, he wasn't a big guy. He used his mouth. It's like other people that we're going to talk about later on as well, no doubt. But yeah, he had to be on my list. If you think of that time in wrestling, if you ask anybody, I think people will mention Jimmy Hart, you know, the mouth of the South, just because of that high-pitched voice, the squeal, essentially, yeah. So yeah, he's on my list, number 5.
He's so good. He was in a band as well back in the day. He had like albums, number 1 hits, everything. He done loads of music.
That's crazy.
There's another Honky Tonk Man's entrance music. He done that. He done loads and loads of entrance music. A lot of the TNA stuff as well back in the day. He done. He was in a band. They were like a big Jimmy Hart band. The Gentrys. There you go. They're like a big deal. They were around forever. 60s, early 70s. Big hits. Genuine big hits. Best
known for the 1965 top 5 Billboard Hot 100 hit, Keep On Dancing.
Keep On Dancing, yeah. And there's a song that the Bay City Rollers copied of theirs as well, which got big as well back in the day. So yeah, good shit. Nice. Yeah, he was very talented guy. Very talented guy.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the picture of him now. I'm trying to work out which one he is.
He's 80 years old, man. Jesus Christ.
Hey, you don't look it.
No.
I'm literally looking at a picture of the Gentrys, mate. I cannot work out at all which one he is. That's mental.
Oh dear.
Can you see that picture? It's like a black and white picture of them all stood together.
Yeah.
I can't work out who he is. That's crazy. Oh, we might splice this into the edit potentially, so you guys can try and work it out. I'll stick it on Twitter. I'll stick it on Twitter.
Or you lazy bastards, Google the Gentrys.
Google the You lazy bastards. That's so good. Yeah, I can't work out who he is. That's fucking mad. This flies back. Fuck off.
Okay, moving on. You're number 5, Hoxie boy.
Go away. You're so annoying. Shoe fly, don't bother me. I'm on to number 5, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Sherri Martel. In terms of my favourite women in wrestling ever, Sherri Martel is up there. The older that I've got as well, I've really started to appreciate her a little bit more as well in terms of what she actually did. She could fucking bump as well. She was a great bumping manager in a day where, like, it was okay to hit a woman. You know what I mean? Like, shut up, bitch. Like, it was okay to do that. You can't do that nowadays. But she would take a bump with the boys. Fucking better than most of them. She's class. She went through everything. That whole period of time, the perfect golden generation into the modern era, into WCW. Mate, she managed she managed Harlem Heat. in fucking, you know what I mean, in WCW. Like, she was around for a long time, and I thought she was badass, and there's something like really sexy about that as well for me. I think she's a beautiful, beautiful woman, and I don't think people realize how beautiful she is because she's always pulling like a grimace face and she's always a heel and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
she's stunning, really, really stunning.
Mhm.
But she was so good. She was so, so, so good. And I really wanted to be like, yes, when you were talking about HBK, because like their whole thing, like that was perfect. And the bit when they sort of split, when he like fucked her off and she's like groveling in the ring, it was just, oh
Chef's kiss.
yeah, amazing. Love Sherri Martel. I think I've spoke about Sherri Martel on here before
Yeah.
in the women wrestling episode, I think. But yeah, she's class. I love her so
good.
much. She's amazing, amazing, amazing worker. Yeah, I just once it's one of those games. Her life story as well would be an amazing Dark Side of the Ring, or like or like a deep dive like documentary. She had a kid like really young, and she basically like left this kid behind to go on the road with the wrestlers because she wanted to be a wrestler and would be involved in the wrestling and stuff. Like she had a really, really rough upbringing in Birmingham, Alabama. So yeah, but she's good. Way too soon. How old was she? 49.
Crazy.
Hell. Yeah. Really, really good. Really, really good. Class. Yep.
Can't argue
Sherri
with that,
Martel.
mate. Number 4, Hoxie.
My number 4. Yes. It's Paul Heyman. No. Paul Bearer. Once again, we talk about like when I was young or when I was watching wrestling or when I was getting involved in wrestling and the formative years of life. But probably one of the biggest stars in wrestling ever, gimmick wise, the biggest gimmick, best gimmick ever in wrestling, The Undertaker. You have Paul Bearer as his manager. And they couldn't have picked anybody better. He was perfect. In terms of a gimmick manager, he would be number one. No ifs, ands, or buts. Not even close. No one else ever, in terms of a gimmicked, like a character manager, no one comes close to Paul Bearer, to Percy Pringle. Not a chance. Not a chance. But there's other people who've done management who are slightly better than him, who we'll probably go through quite soon. But the whole thing of him, the Undertaker Kane thing, just cements him as being one of the greatest ever. It's not even close. He would scare kids. He would you would watch him and you'd be disgusted at him or you'd hate him. Like he didn't have redeeming qualities of like, oh, but it's look at you. Like, you know, I mean, he would be a nice guy. he was just a piece of shit heel manager, and it was amazing. His promos, like his voice, oh, the Undertaker will be there. Like it's just, oh mate, it's so good. We watched him last week, didn't we, on with the Vader thing, and it like he wasn't
Murderer.
as he wasn't. Oh, he wasn't as like gimmicked up, was he? Because he sort of went a bit. He's got a bit ginger, wasn't he? And I mean, he didn't have all the makeup on and that sort of stuff. But yeah, he was just, mate, just so good, so good. Yeah, Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer. I can't read like. It's just all about Taker and Kane. It's all about that bit.
Yeah,
That's
of course,
all it is. That the fucking the whole thing. It's all about that for me.
Perfect gimmick, right?
Just lightning in a bottle, big
Unreal.
time. Yeah,
Unreal.
I mean, he would have managed people back in the day, back in the AWA or back in Memphis or whatever, because he would have been around for a long time after when he gave up wrestling, when he stopped working. He would have wrestled. He would have. I think he managed. I know he managed fucking Rick Rude for a bit, and or not. He probably just do what they used to do back in the 80s. They would manage like 5 matches on the card or whatever. But yeah, mate, he's so good, just so good.
So good. Absolutely. We'll talk about him shortly.
There we go.
Okay, moving across to my number 4, Hoxie. It's another Paul, but it's Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman is your number 4.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. My number 4. And top 10 wrestling managers. It's my number 4. Yes. I mean, but when you...
I know this is a spoken word because it's a podcast, but I genuinely
thought he was
do
going to be
not
number
know
1.
what to say. I do not know what to say right now. Wow. Go on. Crack on.
What, did you think he was going to be higher or shouldn't be on the list?
I thought it was going to be higher.
All right, okay, that's fine. Okay, interesting. I mean, you think about... You know how much I love Paul Heyman.
Yes.
I think best thing in wrestling, like on the mic, he's absolutely incredible. He had to be on my list of managers, even if you just think about the last, like, 15, 20 years in wrestling. It's like, you think about Brock Lesnar, you think about Roman Reigns, but he does so much. Again, check out his Hall of Fame speech beforehand. He's just incredible. For me, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of him. I just think that the managers that I've got coming up, I think, are probably just slightly better managers. So yeah, just Paul Heyman is so good. Again, if you just take the last couple of years with the things he done with Roman Reigns, he got Roman Reigns over. You know, he is the mouthpiece. You think about who else he's been with CM Punk, he's been with fucking Brock Lesnar, and you think about everything he done in ECW as well, who he managed, or you think about WCW, like Medusa, you know, just all those different things as Paulie Dangerously. It's just, again, as the intro said, he is one of the very few that just gets management, but he's just one of the very few that just gets wrestling. Yeah, it's like he knows, he's like again, we'll talk about these guys later on, but he's on that sort of Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling, you know, not a little niche part of wrestling, just in general. Just different class, man. He knows what needs to be said, how to say it, and when to say it, and I think that's what puts him apart from any other managers I've got on my list so far. So yeah, just I can't do him justice. He's just so good. Watch his fucking Hall of Fame speech; that'll tell you everything. Yeah,
Best Hall of Fame speech ever.
So good.
Yeah,
I've watched that like 3 or 4 times. It's just ridiculous.
So I think I've told this before. I watched it with my missus's dad, who's not a wrestling fan, and he was fucking all in on that. Yeah, that was his introduction into proper introduction to wrestling, and he watched Backlash before I did. You know, like he was sold. It was Paul Heyman. Yeah, dude. I honestly I can't believe he's only number 4. That's crazy. Okay.
My number 3 is Paul Bearer.
Okay.
I'm like an Undertaker mark. You know that?
Yes.
It's like he is a guy that you automatically associate with the greatest gimmick of all time in The Undertaker. And not the greatest feud, but for me, possibly the greatest story in WWE or in wrestling, Undertaker and Kane. And I think he added so much into that story in terms of flip-flopping between, is he managing Kane, is he managing Undertaker? He was a bona fide like funeral director in Balmer and Mortician. It's like that was him. That's why he was brought in as like the pallbearer. It's just everything about him. His facial expressions, and you know, it's like Cornette talks about like facial expressions being really important for wrestlers, but that's what sort of set him apart. He had these obviously high pitch, oh yes, but it's these like screw up with the face. You know, it's just that sort of added little bits and pieces to it. Like you say, the urn, he used that. Jimmy Hart with the megaphone, you think of that, but you think Paul Bearer, you think the urn, and just what he used to do with the urn. Oh, yes, the urn. Fuck, he's so good. And yeah, because...
The power of the Undertaker.
I mean, I will say, he had one of the worst deaths ever in WWE when he got wrapped in concrete, if you remember that one. Do you remember when he got... You don't remember that? Undertaker was up against, I'm sure it was the Dudley Boys, and he was in this like glass container, and Undertaker switched on the cement mixer, and the concrete fell in. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Paul Bearer, just fucking great manager. Again, scared the bejesus out you when like you were younger, just because he was a creepy mofo. Like you definitely wouldn't want to stay over at his house because it's just you just think he'd like bury you alive. He's just So good. Percy Pringle, William Moody, Paul Bearer. Again, fucking fantastic manager. So yeah, there you go.
Class. Yeah. I might have to just go and try and like just find a couple of like his like best moments on YouTube or something, just to watch a few little bits and bobs, because he was fucking class. And it was from proper childhood wrestling. It would have been for both of us, wouldn't it? Like proper childhood wrestling. Yeah, sick.
The one that I always remember as well is when the Undertaker came back as the proper Undertaker against Kane, and you knew he was coming out as proper Undertaker because he came out with the urn and he spoke to. I always remember it's a case of, "Oh my son, what have you done?" And he goes, "You're no son of mine."
Yeah.
It's like, that's so good. It's like, oh my fucking god, Paul Bearer, man, love him. Rest in peace, Percy Pringle.
Sick. Great.
Okay,
Great
Foxy,
guy.
number 3.
My number 3 is Paul Heyman.
Our top 2 are the same. It has to be.
You would think so, right? You would think so.
And I think our order's the same as well.
I genuinely think that when all is said and done, he'll go down as one of the most amazing like performers in wrestling. We know of him, he's done everything. Like, he was obviously Paulie Dangerously with the Dangerous Alliance and stuff back in WCW, where he was properly managing people with Steve Austin and all that stuff. And some of the shit he did back then is enough to get him on this list, I think, or a list like this. Maybe not, obviously it won't be as high, but the stuff now,
Unreal.
I mean, we could make an argument that he isn't a manager, he's an advocate, but that's for
He's the
another day.
wise man.
He's a wise man. I just think he is, like you say, saying all the right things in the right places at the right time, whatever, blah, 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 blah. There is not a single chance in hell that this stuff now would have been as good if it wasn't for him, A, carrying it when the people weren't there, but B, actually doing it anyway, even if they were there. Like, all of his input in this stuff has just been superb. And also, let's not forget the Brock shit as well. Like, having him there as the mouthpiece for that is just is pretty fucking special. I mean, I know Brock's a beast, and Brock would have got over, but he needed that.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely needed Paul Heyman there as well. And yeah, I mean, if you look at like the list of accolades or whatever of the people who he's managed would have had, if you want to look at like the fake and phony statistics of wrestling or whatever, he's gonna be up there, isn't he? In terms of like, be like the Olympics, when like a world title would be 3 points, an Intercontinental Championship would be 2, and a tag will be 1, or what you mean? He'd be up there. Yeah, class, fucking class, special. And I think we appreciate him, but I don't think he would be as appreciated as he maybe should be until he's not here anymore as well. It's going to be one of those situations, genuinely.
I think it's really fortunate that he is still there now that Vince is not, because Triple H loves Paul Heyman. He appreciates the talent that Paul Heyman has. He knows the business. He knows how to talk. And I think if Vince was there, it would have fucked the Bloodline storyline.
Oh, yeah. He wouldn't have got off the ground half of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul Heyman, the island of relevancy,
Big shout out.
We salute you. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, boy.
Okay, Hoxie, getting to the business end now. You're number 2.
I changed this last second.
Oh, this is controversial. Okay.
When I was transferring my list from my phone to the paper.
Okay.
I changed this last second. And I'm contemplating changing this back right now. No.
I think I know your top 2. I'll be really surprised if I don't get your top. If I know your top 2, I don't know your top 2.
I'm just going to go on. My number 2 is Jim Cornette.
So's mine. Yeah.
Right. And I know our number 1 is going to be exactly the same. Yeah. Okay. Should we both just have a chat about Jim?
Fucking brilliant. Let's move on. No, absolutely. On you go.
The greatest talker in wrestling history. Not even close. I genuinely, if there was somebody is put on this world to do something, like Jimi Hendrix was put on this world to play guitar, I was put on this world to be a sexy motherfucker. Jim Cornette was put on this world to do wrestling and to be involved in wrestling. It's simple. He was doing promos that people would dream of for the rest of their lives when he was 20 years old in the business. He just stopped taking photographs at ringside and doing promo shots for the guys like around the fucking horn or whatever. Dusty went, "Oh, do you want to come and have a bit of a manager?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll fucking do that." And he was just done. Perfect. Midnight Express, all the money that those guys made back in the day with the rock and roll, and he just, I can't think of enough. Is it superlatives?
Superlatives, yeah.
Superlatives. I can't think of enough superlatives for how good Jim Ross was at promos, getting heat for the people who he was managing. Yeah. His job on this, like in wrestling, was to go out, put bums in seats, get those heels hated, and get yourself over, get that team over, get that wrestler over. And he done that better than mostly anybody.
He's the manager that people wanted to stab. Like, they wanted to kill him because he was just so he was so good at being a fucking prick, you know. And yeah, like you say,
back when wrestling was real,
yeah,
and people treated it like a sport, and it literally was real to these people. Like you say, people would jump in the rail. People would jump in. They would beat police officers up to get to the wrestlers and get to Jim Cornette. That's why he had the racket. He needed something to protect himself with and protect the guys who he was in there with. It was a shoot. It was mad. People would get stabbed. People would come at him with knives. He'd get stuff thrown at him. He'd get beaten up. He'd get people slash his car tires, pour stuff in his petrol tank, smash all the glass up, like on his cars. Like, he'd get police escorted out of the arenas, police escorted out of the towns, like all of this stuff. And we're not saying, oh, like, yeah, it was like, yeah, police would just do that. No, people wanted to fucking lynch him. They literally, if they caught him, he would be dead. It's very, very simple. That's fucking heat. That's heat. Not many people got that back then, and he talked himself into it just by being a piece of shit. I was listening to his podcast the other week. I can't remember if it was the drive-through or the experience or whatever, and they done like a little segment where oh my god, it was fucking such and such's wife. Jesus, it's completely gone out my head. Oh my god, sorry, it's so bad. He was going to have a match with a woman wrestler, and they done a promo, and some of the lines that he dropped on this promo were just amazing, like just amazing shit. And he didn't give a fuck. Like, he knew, like, they obviously, like, we'll have a little bit of fun, we'll go out there and I'll say a bit of this, I'll say a bit of that, but if I feel something, I'll say it. And it was just like, he went out there and he was on national television live back in the day when lots and lots of people were watching it, shitting on a fucking woman. Not the Vince McMahon style. Yeah. But, like, absolutely, you know what I mean? Just going, I said, God, he said going to town on her then. Just like,
oh dear.
He didn't give it. For him, it was a sport. It was sport for him to just be a prick. And even to this day, he knows exactly what to say and how to say it. A lot of the wrestlers, like, was it X-Pac said on Twitter?
Yeah, like, you don't come at Cornette.
Yeah, just let Jim do what the fuck he wants. I ain't fucking saying nothing about Jim. Like,
he's the Eminem of wrestling.
That is a phenomenal comparison, Shields. That's so
not just a pretty face.
That's so good.
It's true though, right?
So
it's like
good. Yeah,
you don't come at Cornette.
Yeah, no, don't fuck with Cornette.
He will destroy you. He will rip your arsenal.
Verbally eviscerate you. And it would take him 10 seconds to do it.
Because he legitimately doesn't give a fuck. If he gets cancelled, he doesn't care.
The amount of times he could have, potentially. But the cult of Cornette is strong, man. The cult of Cornette is strong.
Jamesy.
Dude.
Jamesy.
That Eminem thing's mad. Good shit.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Good shit. Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, he was going to be on the list. He was going to be, if this other person, I'm assuming this is who you've got on your list. If this other person wasn't there, it'd be a lock in number one. But this other person is just,
and I think Jim Cornette would be 100% on board with probably who we're both going to be putting at number one as well. To be fair,
yeah, but backstage in the ring, he'd be like, what the fuck? I should be number motherfucker, goddamn. Yeah, number two for me, like you say, Jim Cornette as well. It's just, it had to be, mate, 100%. So, yes, Mr. James E. Cornette.
So good.
If you don't like us, try and sue us, but we'll just get Stephen P. New. It'll be fine. Okay, what we do now...
Call Stephen P. New.
Stephen P. New, Stephen P. New, Stephen P. New. Watch the Jim Cornette experience and fucking the drive-thru. It's good shit.
And you'll fucking learn something as well.
Well, that's what wrestling is.
I'm still trying to find that.
I'm still trying to find that episode where like he's talking about Vince McMahon, and it's like he gets a phone call from like a company. He goes, "What the fuck you want? I don't want to stop fucking calling." Just hang.
Puts the phone
just
straight down.
Mental, man. Okay,
not today, not other motherfucker. Don't call me back.
Yeah, something like that. He's so good,
so good.
Okay, so for those that don't, before we reveal our number one, what we usually do in Mark Out of 10 is we have an honourable mention. Basically, it's a just cheap way for me and Hoxie getting number 11 on the list, but it's someone that should be there, but we just couldn't quite fit them on. So yes, my honourable mention is someone you've already mentioned, is Miss Elizabeth. Because it was that thing, is she a valet, is she a manager, what's the sort of thing, but she had to be a Melissa somewhere, and just I think because she only really managed Macho, I know she didn't, but because it was only Macho, that's when you think of Miss Elizabeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's she had to be on the list. She was that iconic person. You're absolutely right. She was absolutely beautiful. She was everything that the sort of the Valley should have been, and it was like she was the benchmark for every Valley or every manager. All right, Miyagi, calm down. She was just I got that sucker. She was wrestling's first lady. You know, that's what it was. Wrestling's first lady. Absolute tragedy what happened to her. And, you know, thankfully she'll never be forgotten because she was part of that absolute monumental moment with Macho Man when they reunited. Just phenomenal. So, yeah, she had to be Melissa in honourable mention. Miss Elizabeth.
Beautiful. Good shit.
Thanks.
Mate,
okay, your honourable mention.
My honourable mention, and I said to you before we come on, didn't I? I said this earlier on. I was sort of struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, do you know what? Yeah. Because once again, for like how it's another she made me feel. And in terms of actual like heat, and in terms of like fucking hell, no, not her again. Excuse me.
Oh, I knew that's who you were going to. Fair dues. Yeah, okay.
Excuse me. Like Vicky Guerrero, man. Like I was racking my brain, and like I said, I had a little look on the list, and her name popped up, and I was like, do you know what? Yeah, because I fucking hated her so much. With every time she used to come out, whether it was fucking Edge, whether it was Dolph, whether it was fucking whoever, Chavo, like anything that she was involved in, Del Rio shit that was involved in, like even in fucking AEW recently with Andrade, like all that's like the excuse me thing was brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
Whoever thought of that, if that was her, high five. That's some good shit. Whoever thought of that as a little thing deserves a big high five. She's a heat magnet, man. Real proper. That's what a manager. If that's a heel manager, that's what you need. You need to be like, oh no, you know what I mean? Like, fuck off, not you again, please. Great shit. Involved in some really good segments and some really good moments as well. Modern day wrestling moments. Yeah. I think modern day managers are quite thin on the ground. You don't really have that kind of thing anymore, do we? We don't have a manager. Maybe Don Callis in AW sort of. He's not that level, but he's sort of trying. But Prince Nana, he's for a dance maybe. But yeah, Taz was pretty good.
Taz was good.
The Taz thing, but Vicky Guerrero, modern day wrestling, big shout out to Vicky Guerrero because she was a heat magnet. Honorable mention to her for me.
Absolutely, that's a really good show actually. Yeah, that excuse me fucking shrill voice.
Excuse me. Which she would do it before she came out as well, like screaming into the mic. I just think that's really
So
good shit. Yeah, really good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, folks, before we reveal our number 1 of the top 10 wrestling managers, we'll run through 10 to honourable mention. I'll go first, Hoxie, because you're the first one to reveal your number 1. My number 10 was Paul Ellering. Number 9 was Sensational Sherri Martel. Number 8, Mr. Fuji. Number 7 was Captain Lou Albano. Number 6 was Classy Freddie Blassie. Number 5 was the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Number 4, Paul Heyman. 3, Paul Bearer. 2, Jim Cornette. And my honourable mention is the one, the only, Miss Elizabeth.
My number 10 was Gary Hart. Number 9, J.J. Dillon. Number 8, Captain Lou Albano. Number 7, Miss Elizabeth. Number 6, Jimmy Hart. Number 5, Sherri Martel. Number 4, oh yes, Paul Bearer. Number 3, Paul Heyman. Number 2, JC, Jim Cornette. And my honourable mention, Vicky Guerrero.
Okay. Number 1. I'm almost certain we've got the same one.
Should we just both say it at the same? Should we do 3, 2, 1? Say it.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep.
You do the countdown, mate. Go on.
3, 2, 1. Bobby
the Brain Heenan.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Had to be, right?
If any wrestling fan who knows anything about wrestling ever does not have this guy at number 1, you are a nonce. Nonce behaviour. Get in the bin. Get in the sea. You need to be reported. Check your hard drive.
The views of Hoxie do not reflect the views of Mark out of 10. But he's right, to be fair.
I am 1,000,000% right, aren't I?
Yeah 100%.
Come on, mate. Fucking just, yeah.
Like, he was phenomenal in commentary, but his bread and butter was being a manager, right? It's just...
Yeah. And he was a fucking good wrestler as well back in the day, by the way. Great worker. Really, really, really good worker. But that, I mean, we might as well talk about it from the off, sort of the big elephant in the room. So part of the conversation is the Andre thing, that lead into WrestleMania with Hogan.
He sold the main event.
Yeah. And he got a big old fucking check for it as well, because Vince knew exactly what he was doing. Yeah. It would not have been as big and as important and as poignant in the history of wrestling if it wasn't for Bobby the Brain Heenan. He done more for that match than Hogan and Andre did, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think we've said this before when we've talked about that match before. You don't have that pay-per-view and you don't have that level of WrestleMania and that transcendence into fucking the stratosphere that it did without Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was the linchpin in all of those cogs for that show, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking amazing. Amazing. Good shit. And, I mean, was it... Oh, Heenan family?
Heenan family, yep.
Heenan family. Everyone was there. Perfect. Orndorff. Fucking hell. I know Arn and Tully were there for a bit when they were there, weren't they? All the heels, basically.
Yeah, pretty
that
much.
Bit when Flair wins the Rumble, he's there, isn't he? And they're all there celebrating, and it's Heenan who's asking the questions, isn't he? I'm sure of it. I'm sure he's there.
Even if you take that away, it's like you've got some of the biggest names ever again. We've said that for Classy Fred Blassie, but it's like Andre, Rick Rude, Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens, fucking Blackjacks, Harley Race, Mr. Perfect, fucking Ric Flair. It's like...
It's a who's who, isn't it?
It's fucking ridiculous, man. And what's really...
So good.
What's fucking mental is, right, he didn't even need to be their manager. All you could have given him a microphone, stand him in the ring and say, go and sell this match. You've got nothing to do with the match, but sell the match.
Yeah.
And you can
sell this
do
pay-per-view.
You know
sell
what I mean?
This
it's like
Saturday night's main event. Sell this pen.
And he could do it. It's just... His brain was like on a different level, different stratosphere. It was like just popping all the time. He was quick. He was funny. He was
10 steps ahead of fucking everybody at every single moment in time of everything that he did, isn't he? Yeah.
Hoxie, he was playing chess while they were playing checkers.
There you go.
You know, and he was a lock as number 1. My top 2 were a lock from the get-go. Like, it was always Cornette number 2, the Brain at number 1. It had to be for managers.
I had the 5 names on there, and I think my heart, not necessarily my heart, but a little bit of my heart was overruling my head when I'd done number one. And then I was just like, no, don't be fucking stupid. You fucking silly prick. So I was like, yeah, that'll do. Just amazing. Just the best to ever do it. The best to ever do it. Yeah. And like you said, obviously, I know we're not talking about like this, but one of the best commentators as well. Like WF with Gorilla, and then the WCW stuff he did with Shivani and fucking Dusty and whoever was there at the time. Class. Fucking so good.
Absolutely unbelievable.
And yeah, just sad way to end as well, like to go out as well, but it's just amazing career. And like I said, the management side of things, you look at that boom. Obviously, wrestling was big, territory wrestling was big, but to have to turn it into what it was and what it is now, he was pivotal. Really was vital in that.
Huge, yeah, massive.
People sleep on how big that WrestleMania 3 match was. The Hogan Andre thing. I know WrestleMania was a big deal, and they sort of bet the house on it and won a little bit. But that WrestleMania 3 main event, that whole thing, is huge. It's huge. It's one of the most important moments in the history of.
It lit the fuse, right? It lit the fuse for the boom that eventually was. So yeah, and he was
the most important part of it. Yeah.
Yep, he was the touch paper. He was fucking just phenomenal. Absolute legend in his own right. So well worth it. And again, yeah,
I love anything that he did. I love listening to it.
It was gold.
Yeah, everything that he did. Hang on every word he said. The only thing he ever did in his whole career was the Hogan turn and fucked up the call. It's the only thing he ever did that anyone ever can look back on and think, fucking hell, Bobby, what are you doing?
That would have been the perfect career, right? That would have been the perfect if he didn't have it.
Dude, the thing with the first episode of Raw when he's trying to get into the Raw taping and he's dressing up as a woman to try and get in and just all that. Just
genius.
Oh, God. Yes, Bobby. Love it. Good shit.
That's why he's number one, guys. Yeah. Just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Do you agree with Hoxie and mine's lists? I think there was no argument for any of them, to be perfectly honest. I think everybody was well deserving to be on each of our lists. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know at wrestlemart10@gmail.com. Comment on everything, all our socials. That was a good one tonight, Hoxie. I enjoyed that.
I did, mate. I'm still. There was no falling out, but I'm still shocked that your Heyman was number 4. Really am. Because I know how much of a Heyman mark you are. I was amazing. So I thought he would have been number 2 for you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Genuinely, I thought it would have been Bobby, Heyman, Cornette, and then Bearer number 4. That's what I thought would have been.
Interesting.
Crazy.
There you go.
Good shit.
I'll just keep you guessing all the time.
Well, that was fucking creepy. Out the corner of my eye, I'm sure I've just saw a reflection in the glass cabinet that is next to my setup. And I turned around and there isn't anything there. And now I am actually doing a little bit of a poo. I've literally got goosebumps. I don't like that at all.
Right, okay.
Will you stay on the call with me till I turn the lights on? Okay. Oh my God, guys. Shit. I don't like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is season 3 of Market of 10 finished. Apologies, it has been so up and down. We will get better at that. Apologies once again. We're going to take a few weeks off, though. We're going to enjoy the wedding next week. It's going to be fucking amazing.
It might take us a couple of weeks to get over that fucking wedding anyway. Mate.
Absolutely fucking true. And also the weekend...
Probably won't have our voices.
The week after, I start my new job as well, so I don't know how tired I'll be from there. But that's by the by. We will be back. Give us 4 or 5 weeks, and then we'll get something in the diary. It'll be fine. We'll get some back... No,
backfill this shit.
That's the one I'm talking. That's the words I'm talking about. Yeah. But yes,
we'll backshot that shit.
Get all the back shots in. Brother! Wow. Yes, thank you very much for listening. You guys are absolute legends as always. From Shields, good night and goodbye.
From Hawksy, love you.